Have you ever ignored a gut feeling that made absolutely no sense at the time, only to realize later that something inside you had been right all along? That quiet inner signal you couldn't explain, the one that came with a strange tightness in your chest or a subtle pull you chose to dismiss. Maybe it showed up as déjà vu, or a sudden knowing with no logical source, or a synchronicity that tried to get your attention before you brushed it off. If you've lived that moment, let me say this before your rational mind jumps in to explain it away. You're not crazy. There is a scientific reason this happens, and it has nothing to do with superstition or imagination. Most people are trained to ignore these signals. We're taught to trust logic, data, and external validation, and to distrust anything that can't be measured immediately. But something about that moment stayed with you. Even now, you can feel it. That wasn't weakness or emotion clouding judgment. That was perception. Experiences like this tend to surface when quantum consciousness begins to interact with the hidden reality beneath everyday awareness, often marking the early stages of a spiritual awakening most people don't know how to name. What no one explains is that your body and your awareness process information long before your conscious mind catches up. When a quantum biologist finally broke down what was happening during moments like these, it reframed everything I thought I knew about intuition, decision-making, and the intelligence woven into living systems themselves. And once you see it, you realize that ignoring that signal wasn't a mistake. It was a missed conversation with reality, because what you felt wasn't random, emotional, or irrational. It was your consciousness detecting information before language could form around it. And what you missed is far more unsettling than you think. Before we go any further, I want you to be part of this in a deliberate way. If you've ever experienced a moment you still can't fully explain, a gut feeling, a synchronicity, a decision you didn't listen to that later proved meaningful, share your most unexplainable synchronicity below. One moment, one sentence. I'm reading everyone, because these experiences don't happen in isolation. Patterns only reveal themselves when they're seen together. If this resonates, hit like, not as support for a creator, but as a signal. That action helps this message reach others who are quietly searching for the same truth, wondering why their inner signals never quite fit the world they were taught to trust. And if something clicked just now, that calm recognition rather than excitement, then subscribe. Not because you're curious, but because you belong here. This isn't a channel about belief. It's a collective exploration of a hidden reality most people never question. Now, here's where it becomes precise. Because what you ignored wasn't intuition in the vague sense. It was rooted in a measurable biological and quantum process most people have never been told about. The first crack in this story appeared in 1978, when physicist John Archibald Wheeler, working at Princeton University, formalized what became known as the delayed choice experiment. On the surface, it looked like a refinement of the classic double-slit experiment. A single particle, usually a photon, is sent through an apparatus where it can behave either like a wave, spreading through multiple paths, or like a particle, taking one defined route. For decades, physics assumed the particle decided how to behave at the moment it passed through the slits. Wheeler asked a disturbing question. What if the decision of how to measure the particle is made after the particle has already passed the point where that decision should matter? So the experiment was designed so that the observer's choice, wave measurement or particle measurement, happened at the last possible moment. The results were consistent and repeatable. When the measurement was changed, the particle behaved as if it had always known what the future observation would be, as if the present choice reached backward and shaped the past behavior of the particle. Physics describes this carefully, but the observer effect here is undeniable. Observation doesn't just reveal what's already there. It participates in reality creation within the quantum field. The particle doesn't commit to a single outcome until information is required by an observer. Now pause here, not intellectually, but personally, because if observation influences outcomes at the most fundamental level of reality, then perception is not passive. And if perception isn't passive, then the signals your body picks up before conscious thought aren't random noise. And this means that you are not overthinking when you feel something before you can explain it. It means your awareness can register information before logic assembles a narrative. When you ignored that gut feeling, you weren't being irrational. You were interrupting a process that was already underway. That tightness in your chest, that sudden certainty with no words attached, that moment where something felt off without evidence. Those are not emotions interfering with reason. They are perception arriving earlier than permission. And when you override them, you're not choosing logic over instinct. You're choosing a delayed explanation over immediate information, which raises an uncomfortable possibility. Some of the most important decisions in your life weren't missed because you lacked data, but because you didn't trust the observer you already were. But here's where it gets even stranger. What brings this even closer to home is a discovery made in 1988 by cognitive scientist Bernard Baars, when he introduced what's now known as Global Workspace Theory. Working in the United States, Baars demonstrated that your subconscious mind is constantly processing vast streams of information, sensory input, internal states, emotional signals, predictive models, while your conscious awareness only receives a tiny fraction of it. Consciousness in this framework isn't the source of intelligence. It's the last stage, a spotlight that turns on only when something carries enough significance to demand your attention. And this is why those moments feel the way they do. This is why you feel that sudden chill, that tightening in your chest, that pressure behind your eyes. Your body reacts before your thoughts arrive. When a signal crosses the threshold into awareness, it doesn't announce itself politely. Your heart speeds up. Time feels distorted. There's a brief sense of urgency without panic. That's not imagination. That's your nervous system registering information your subconscious has already deemed important. Vibration and frequency aren't metaphors here. They describe measurable changes in neural coherence and energy distribution across brain networks. When your subconscious mind detects a meaningful pattern, your physiology responds instantly. Goosebumps, a subtle heat, a pull you can't ignore. And if you're feeling any of this right now as you listen, that's not coincidence. It's recognition. And this explains something deeply personal. This explains why you felt something before you had reasons. Why your gut reacted while your mind hesitated. Your subconscious processed the situation faster than conscious language could form. By the time your thoughts tried to catch up, the signal had already passed. That missed moment wasn't intuition failing. It was perception arriving before permission. This also explains why these signals grow stronger during periods of change, when old beliefs loosen, when identity is shifting, when your usual filters soften. During these moments, more information is allowed through the gate. Reality feels sharper, louder, more alive. You're not becoming unstable. You're becoming receptive. And if you've ever wondered why ignoring those signals leaves a lingering sense of regret that logic can't resolve, it's because something in you already knew. Your body knew. Your subconscious knew. Conscious awareness just arrived late to the conversation. Now let me tell you something nobody talks about. For years I ignored this. Not because it wasn't happening, but because it felt safer to downplay it. I felt those inner signals constantly. Moments where something in my body reacted before my mind had a chance to catch up. But every time I tried to talk about it, the reaction was the same. People laughed, or they tried to soften it with logic. You're reading too much into things. Everyone feels that sometimes. So I stopped bringing it up. I stopped trusting it out loud. I told myself it was better to stay grounded, to be reasonable, to not sound strange. But there was a cost to that silence. A quiet isolation that's hard to explain unless you've felt it. I started doubting myself in small ways at first, then in bigger ones. I second-guessed decisions that felt obvious in my body. I talked myself out of moments that felt important, and every time I ignored that signal, there was this lingering weight afterward. Not regret exactly, but something unresolved. Like I'd missed a turn I couldn't go back to. The breaking point wasn't dramatic. It didn't come with answers. It came with exhaustion. One moment after dismissing another gut feeling, I felt this sudden clarity that surprised me. I realized that denying these signals took more energy than admitting I didn't fully understand them. That pretending not to notice was harder than sitting with uncertainty. That was the moment I stopped fighting the experience itself. I didn't suddenly believe everything. I just stopped silencing what I felt. And that honesty was uncomfortable, but it was real. If any of this feels familiar, if you've kept these moments to yourself because it felt easier, you're not alone. This isn't weakness. It's sensitivity to reality, and if something here resonated with you, you're exactly where you need to be right now. That's when everything changed, because I realized something that shifts everything. That's the realization that quietly rearranges everything. What you once labeled as a flaw, being too sensitive, overthinking, feeling things before you can explain them, was never a defect. You're not breaking, you're waking up. The science you've just walked through points to the same conclusion your experience has been nudging you toward all along. When awareness registers before thought, when observation changes outcomes, when meaning is felt before it's understood, it reveals something both unsettling and empowering. Consciousness isn't a byproduct of reality. Consciousness participates in shaping it. Look at the path you've just taken. A quantum experiment where observation alters behavior. A mind that filters vast streams of information before letting anything reach awareness. A body that reacts before language forms. These aren't disconnected ideas. They're pieces of a larger pattern. And when you place them together, it becomes clear that what you experienced, that gut signal you ignored, wasn't noise. It was perception expanding beyond its usual boundaries. If you feel a subtle strangeness right now, a sense that something is shifting as you listen, that's not confusion. That's frequency changing. Your system is updating faster than your old explanations can keep up. Here's the part most people never hear. You're not alone in this. Not symbolically, literally. Thousands of people are reporting the same experiences at the same time. Heightened intuition, physical reactions without obvious cause, a sense that reality feels thinner, more responsive. This isn't mass anxiety, it's convergence. When consciousness expands collectively, it shows up first as discomfort, then as recognition. And if your heart feels like it's beating a little faster right now, that isn't fear, that's recognition. Your nervous system responding to coherence, the relief of something finally aligning. The power here isn't control, it's participation. The awareness you've been trying to silence was never something you needed to earn or learn. It was always part of you, buried under conditioning, habits, and outdated models of how reality works. And once you see that, you can't fully go back to pretending the world is something that simply happens to you. You're in relationship with it, always have been. Because if consciousness creates, if the quantum observer plays a role in collapsing reality into form, then ideas like time, separation, and even death don't mean what you were taught they mean. They can't. And that opens a question most people aren't ready to sit with yet. Before your rational mind pulls you back into familiar explanations, do this now. Pause. Breathe. Notice what's happening in your body. Because awareness, once recognized, doesn't wait forever to be acknowledged. Comment, I am the observer, or consciousness creates below. This isn't just engagement. It's a conscious act, a moment where intention becomes visible. When you write it, you're collapsing awareness into form and feeding a collective field that's forming around this channel, one that naturally attracts resonant consciousness rather than chasing attention. Subscribe now before your logical mind talks you out of it. This space isn't for everyone. It's for those who sense, quietly and deeply, that reality is far more layered than what we were taught. If you stayed until this moment, that wasn't accidental. You already belong here. Welcome home. And if you want to understand the next level of this, the next video is called The Moment Your Body Knows Before Your Mind, the Quantum Biology of Intuition. What I discovered about cellular intelligence and decision-making is more disturbing than what we explored here. Not for everyone. I'll see you there. Your consciousness brought you here. What happens now is your choice.